What if everything we assume about time is upside down? What if time itself is not eternal, but a created thing, something that had a beginning? And what if the God who made time is not bound by it at all?
Really? That's quite a shift. I mean, we live by clocks and calendars every day, so to think time itself had a start and that God exists outside of it, that's pretty profound.
Exactly. And it's not just an abstract idea. It changes how we understand everything from our daily schedules to the big questions about life and eternity. By the end of this, listeners will see how God's eternal nature shapes time itself, how he orders both human and natural time, and how Jesus perfectly submitted to divine timing, giving us a model for living wisely within time's constraints.
So we're talking about time not as this endless, independent flow, but as something God created and controls. That's a huge theological claim. Where do we start unpacking that?
Let's begin with the phrase "in the beginning" from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It's often read as the start of the universe, but it's actually the start of time itself. Before that beginning, there was no before, because time hadn't started yet.
Right, so time is part of the created order, not something eternal alongside God. Psalm chapter 90, verse 2 really drives this home. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. God isn't just the oldest being in time. He transcends time altogether.
Yes, and that has deep metaphysical implications. God inhabits eternity, as Isaiah chapter 57, verse 15 says. He's not subject to past, present, and future like we are. He doesn't age or grow tired. His plans were set before the foundation of the world, which means his foreknowledge and sovereignty aren't limited by temporal succession.
So time is a creature, a dimension God created. The clock ticks because God spoke it into existence. That means our experience of time, our pressure, our anxiety about deadlines, is held in the hands of one who is never hurried or late.
Exactly. It challenges the frantic scramble we often feel, as if time is running out or slipping away uncontrollably. Instead, time exists because God willed it so.
That's a comforting thought. But then, how does God interact with time once it's created? I know the Exodus calendar is a key example.
Yes, in Exodus chapter 12, God tells Moses and Aaron, "This month shall be for you the beginning of months." This is a radical reordering of time for Israel. Before this, they followed the calendars of surrounding nations, but now God institutes a new calendar starting with the month of Passover, the month of redemption.
So time itself is reordered around God's saving acts. The year begins not with agricultural or political cycles, but with deliverance. That's a powerful theological statement.
It is. The religious festivals, the remembrance of salvation, the identity of God's people, all tethered to this divine ordering of time. God doesn't leave his people to drift aimlessly through time. He gives structure and meaning to their days, continually pointing them back to his redemptive work and forward to his promises.
That makes me think about how we mark our own calendars. For believers, the cross and resurrection should be the defining center of our time, shaping how we live and remember.
Absolutely. It invites us to reorder our own lives around redemption, not just cultural or secular milestones.
Now, what about natural time? The seasons, for example. How does God's sovereignty show up there?
That's where Genesis chapter 8, verse 22 comes in. After the flood, God makes a covenantal promise. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. This is more than a weather report. It's a divine guarantee of the stability and regularity of natural rhythms.
So the flood represents a cosmic reset, and after it, God establishes and guarantees the ordered pattern of seasons. That prevents a return to chaos and disorder.
Exactly. The cycles of planting and harvesting, the alternation of seasons, the rhythm of day and night, they're upheld by God's faithfulness, not just natural law or chance.
That's theologically significant. It means the earth's stability and predictability are rooted in God's covenant. So the seasons of our lives, times of growth and barrenness, warmth and cold, are under divine care.
Yes, and that gives us a framework to trust God through the varying seasons of life, knowing he sustains them all.
That's reassuring. But then how does this all connect to Jesus and his relationship with time?
The eternal Son of God who existed before time, entered time, and lived in perfect submission to the Father's appointed hour. In John's Gospel, Jesus repeatedly refers to his hour, or his time, indicating a divine timetable governing his mission.
Like at the wedding in Cana, when Jesus says, "My hour has not yet come," he's not acting on human pressure or expectation, but according to divine timing.
Right. Throughout his ministry, Jesus waits for the appointed time to reveal himself fully. Even when authorities seek to arrest him, they can't because his hour had not yet come. Then, as the cross approaches, the language shifts. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Jesus embraces this moment as the purpose for which he came.
That's a profound paradox. The one who created time submits himself to its flow and to the Father's schedule. He models patient waiting and courageous obedience.
Exactly. The cross isn't a tragic accident, but the appointed hour of salvation. For us, Jesus' example teaches discernment of divine timing, knowing when to wait and when to act, living neither impulsively nor passively, but in alignment with God's will.
So, practically speaking, what does this mean for us living inside time?
Several things. First, we can rest in the God who is outside of time. Our anxiety about the future or regret over the past doesn't surprise him. He sees the end from the beginning and holds all moments in his hand.
That's a huge relief. Then, we're called to let redemption reorder our time. Just as Israel's calendar begins with Passover, our lives should be centered on the cross and resurrection, shaping how we mark our days and years.
Yes, and we should trust God with the seasons of our lives. There are seed times and harvests, winters and summers. God's covenant assures us these seasons will not cease and are under his faithful care.
And we learn from Jesus how to live inside time. Discern the Father's timing. There are moments to wait and moments to act. Jesus models both patient waiting and decisive obedience.
Finally, we're called to redeem the time. Time is a gift from the eternal God. We are stewards, called to make the best use of it, as Paul says in Ephesians.
So, to sum up, time had a beginning. God did not. God orders human time by establishing months around redemption and natural time by guaranteeing seasons. The eternal Son entered time and perfectly submitted to the Father's appointed hour.
And this sovereign God is not bound by the clock, but works patiently within it for our good and his glory. We can face the pressures of time with confidence, knowing the eternal God holds every moment.
That's a rich and comforting truth to carry with us. It really reshapes how we think about time, doesn't it?
It does. Time is not our master. It's a created gift held in the hands of the eternal God.